So I noticed recently that a lot of the videos I've been doing have been rather serious business, covering very serious topics that you can't make light of because they're just not funny. And so naturally I was thinking that I need to find something entertaining to do a video about.
Aquavi, y'all.
Well, Aquave Black Hitler, let's do it!
So, I was on the Twitter, at GaziCodes on my Twitter, and on my Snapchat, at GaziCodes on my Snapchat.
Don't worry, I follow you everywhere. You're my favourite black supremacist.
And I kept getting all these people like, Gazi, you need to listen to Macklemore's new song, White Privilege Part 2, it's so problematic, blah, 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 blah.
Of course it's problematic. Macklemore is white.
So I listened to it. Actually, no, I read it. I just listened to it because I just can't stand the voices of white people trying to rap. It's just like, you know, scratching a chalkboard.
Oh, me too. I've never heard a Macklemore song, but I imagine it's as awful as you describe.
Anyways, what I did see in his video, and I was like, oh, look at you, Macklemore, acting like a white nationalist male Saxon.
You know, I'm going to write these things down because otherwise I'm going to forget. So, Macklemore is a white nationalist male Saxon.
Using voices of African people to legitimize, you know, your political stance of that song.
Now, I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure his song is called White Privilege 2, in which he complains that he and all of the white people have white privilege and they need to apologise for it and try and get rid of it. I'm no expert on nationalist groups, but I don't think that's what white nationalists think. But like I said, I'm not the expert here.
Like, he couldn't just come out by himself. He had to get African people to be like, come on, y'all, support what I'm saying.
Basically enslaving them, right?
So, I'm gonna do the same thing, Macklemore. I'm gonna do the same thing.
But doesn't that make you just as bad as he is?
And here is Jesse. Come on, Jesse.
Okay, firstly, it's Aquabiol, and secondly, ew, a white Neanderthal Uncle Tom cave beast.
Uhuru. This is a male Saxon that is going to legitimize what I'm saying.
But I thought that black people didn't legitimize what Macklemore was saying.
Since Macklemore can do it, I'ma do it, okay? It's called Black Power in Whiteface.
Was Macklemore's song called White Power in Blackface?
Alright, Jesse, read one of the lyrics. Oh wait, y'all don't even know who this man is.
Clearly he is your slave, and because you have arms like twiglets, it's clearly voluntary on his part. He is obviously some kind of self-hating hipster.
Y'all don't even know who this cave beast is. Let me introduce you who he is.
Jesus, you actually called him a cave beast.
He is the president of
Uhuru Solidarity Movement.
And what is that?
The organization of white people under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party.
Under the what?
Leadership of the African People's Socialist Party.
Under the what?
Under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party.
Okay, so you are playing the Jewish collaborator to their black Nazis.
Okay, so now you can read one of these horrible parasite lyrics from this cave beast, Macklemore.
Fucking hell, look at Black Hitler's face. He is clearly having visions of himself speaking at a gargantuan rally.
From this toilet seat complexion individual.
What are you smiling at, you fucking hipster? He's talking about people like you.
Okay, here's Macklemore.
Wait.
Yes.
Now.
Here's Macklemore.
Oh yeah, this is a totally healthy relationship.
Reflecting on driving to a march in Seattle in 2014 after Darren Wilson was not indicted. Is this awkward? Should I even be here marching? Thinking if they can't, how can I breathe? Thinking if they chant, what do I sing? I want to take a stance because we are not free. And then I thought about it. We are not we. Am I on the outside looking in, or am I in the inside looking out? Is it my place to give my 2 cents, or should I stand on the side and shut my mouth? No justice, no peace. Okay, I'm saying that. They're chanting out Black Lives Matter, but I don't say it back. Is it okay for me to say?
Yeah, looking at Black Hitler's expression, I'm gonna guess that it's not.
See, this is the problem with you Neanderthal times. Why is this whole thing is like he goes to this march that's about a young African being shot and murdered, and he makes it about him. Like, did he get rubber bullets shot at him? Did he get mace in his motherfucking face? Like, he's making it about him. He goes to the poor African community of Ferguson and is like, let me write a song about my experience. Like, a girl, when I went there, it was so hard for me. Should I chant? Should I chant? Should I say Black Lives Matter back? Should I even be here? Am I on the inside looking out of the out? Let me write this song. Inspirations about me.
Oh, yeah. If the lyrics had gone something like, I am a nigger who has been shot by the cops because I'm a nigger, you would have been just fine with that. That would have been that would have been him being empathetic.
Speak!
More lyrics?
No, not more lyrics. Break that down.
Well,
Tell him why it's wrong. Tell that white man why it's wrong.
okay, alright, Macklemore.
Yeah, shut up, Macklemore, and listen to the Judish Ghetto Polizei.
What Macklemore needs to do is, Macklemore, instead of driving to a march and feeling awkward about whether or not he should be chanting Black Lives Matter, Macklemore, like all white people, needs to take responsibility for the fact that we benefit from the oppression of African people.
Hang on. Are you saying you think you are oppressing Black Hitler? Because he's the one telling you to shut up and when to speak.
We benefit from the police murders of African people.
What? What, do you get, like a fucking check or something? How do you benefit when a policeman murders a black person? How... What?
We benefit from the mass imprisonment of African people.
How? How does a black person being in prison benefit me? If anything, it's my fucking tax money that is paying to keep him there.
And Macklemore benefits with a net worth of $18 million.
Are you saying that Macklemore earned his fortune through slavery?
Macklemore, at the very least. Macklemore is one of the highest paid rappers in the business.
Which is incredible, considering that the business you're talking about doesn't appear to be the rap industry or the music industry. It appears to be the transatlantic slave trade.
He won a Grammy. He is on the top when it comes to the rap industry.
You know, if there was one industry that I wouldn't think that white privilege actually plays much of a part in, it would be the rap industry.
And it's not enough to just go to a protest and, regardless of how awkward you feel, and chant no justice, no peace, or chant Black Lives Matter.
So what would be enough? I mean, at what point are you going to go, you know what, Macklemore, that's cool. Thanks very much.
You know how awkward it is getting shot at?
No, tell me.
You know how awkward it is every time you see a police officer, your heart be racing?
Oh, I thought we were talking about black on black crime. No, I mean, I imagine it's really awkward.
But you feel awkward when you go to a march. Ain't nobody even force you to go to the march. I'd be forced to see these pigs on the street every time I come to work. It's like 8 of them by the time you pass because we live in the African community.
Hang on, wasn't it a good thing that he went to the march?
Oh, I'm so angry. Next lyric!
Oh my god, I did the chop chop earlier, but he actually did it. Go on, tell us the next lyric, little white slave.
So
wait, Jesse.
Yes.
I can feel it.
Okay.
Next lyric.
Then Macklemore decides to bring in some African voices criticizing him, saying, "You probably shouldn't be here. You have white supremacy. Don't fucking come here. You don't give a shit about us. Black Lives Matter. Say it. You should not have done that. Why the fuck would you do that? You always react. Just let it go, man. White racist. It's the Grammys. You've taken the drums and the accent you rapped in, the brand of hip-hop. It's so fascist and backwards. You said publicly, rest in peace, Mike Brown. You speak about equality, but do you really mean it? Are you marching for freedom or when it's convenient?" I think the answer is pretty obvious.
Yeah, Macklemore's just another white supremacist exploiting his black slaves.
Speak. I can't even.
Well, see, this is what this song right here, which is called White Privilege 2. So this is not even the first time Macklemore has
Flagellated himself in public for things he never did?
poisoned the airwaves with this garbage.
I love how we're in agreement with that, but for totally different reasons.
This is basically a whole line that's out there in the white community, in the white left, that focuses on white privilege and racism and white supremacy in a way that is totally self-serving.
Wow, for a white Neanderthal cave beast, you're pretty smart. Yes, progressives are entirely self-serving. All of this bullshit is entirely self-serving. It is their attempt to gain power over others.
It has nothing to do with the actual conditions that African people face, or the relationship of what we experience as white people to what African people face. It's basically, it is totally only when it's convenient. Only when you can get your song out there and get more people to buy your records and increase your multi-million-dollar net worth.
Wait, are you saying that Macklemore actually made his money like a legitimate businessman, instead of enslaving black people on cotton plantations? Because it sounds like you're saying Macklemore didn't do nothing.
It has nothing to do with taking responsibility for colonialism.
I don't think Macklemore is responsible for colonialism.
And that's the thing that has to be said. This song talks all about racist beliefs. Racist beliefs. No justice, no peace. African people are dying in the streets.
Okay, this is where we start entering into the realm of ideological bullshit, isn't it? African people are dying in the streets. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, most of them are being killed by other African people, but that doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Because of a system of colonialism.
Go on.
That's what Chairman Omali Yeshitela says.
Really? And is he your cult leader by any chance?
Our leadership, the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, says African people are dying because they live under colonialism.
Oh, shit! Oh! I'm so sorry, Ghazi Kodzo. This guy here, he's not Black Hitler. Chairman Omali is Black Hitler. This guy's Black Goebbels.
And colonialism is when one whole group of people oppresses and dominates a whole other group of people.
No, that's imperialism. Colonialism is where you create a colony in that area from a territory somewhere else and then go and oppress and dominate them. I know, it's a silly distinction, but I feel the need to make it.
And they don't do it just through beliefs. We don't do it just through beliefs. We do it with guns, we do it with the police, we do it with the military, we do it with the prison system, the court system, the army, the navy, all of it. The state.
If that was all true, don't you find it a bit weird you'd have a black president?
That's what's used to maintain this relationship. So white people can go take an unlearning racism workshop and pay $500 to sit with Tim Wise or some other charlatan.
Bernie Sanders.
Or Bernie Sanders.
Don't get me wrong, I'm sure Tim Wise is a charlatan, but if someone is being oppressed here, it sure isn't Mr. Entitled Black Dude, who's cutting in on everything you say and making you fucking jump as he clicks his fucking fingers or claps his fucking hands. This has suddenly become a whole lot less funny because now at this point, the chap on the left looks like he has been emotionally abused by sociopathic Black Goebbels on the right.
And by the way, Tim Wise does unlearning racism workshops for cops. So.
What the fuck was that? Tim Wise teaches cops how not to be racist. Don't get me wrong, I think Tim Wise is probably part of the same progressive SJW cancer that you fucking extremists are, but that in itself is not a bad thing. It's probably a bunch of bullshit, but you guys aren't complaining about that. You're complaining that he's dealing with cops.
Tim Wise works with the police.
That doesn't stop you from being a colonizer.
Exactly.
You're still a colonizer. You're still a colonizer.
Okay, so your slave has spoken for long enough and now you can't contain yourself. Go on, let's hear your opinion on what you deserve.
You still ain't about giving reparations. You still ain't about giving back my resources and land that you stole from us.
Hey, Black Goebbels, next time you do these, don't get all pissy. Because you just said, my resources. What was stolen from you, exactly, Black Goebbels? What was taken? Give me the name of the item. Can you tell me the serial number? How much money was it? Was there any amount? I mean, I know you just want someone to give you something, but what's the name of the person who took it? Can you give me any of these details? I mean, it's not like you're about to give us an individual example with a specific item, is it, Black Goebbels? Because that'd be fucking ridiculous.
It's like this. Hold this phone. So he has a phone, right? I steal his phone, okay? And I'm like, you know what? I feel bad about having his phone. And I say, you know what, Jesse? You know what, toilet seat complexion individual? I feel bad about having your phone, and because this phone really privileges me. I get to send texts to my friends. I get to send emails. I get all these kinds of apps. It really sucks that I have this phone and that I can do all these things. But I ain't giving it back to your ass.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That is what white privilege does. Next lyric.
There we go. Macklemore.
That is what this whole ideology of white privilege and white supremacy is. Like, it's like, you still have the motherfucking phone. You still have the phone. But at least you're willing to talk about the apps that you get to use from the phone, even though you know it's stolen.
You actually are this ideologically entrenched, aren't you? There is no way you could ever be persuaded this isn't true. That you have actually never had anything stolen by the white man, and there is literally no one you can ask to give that non-existent thing back. You are using your own iPhone as the example. You are doing fine.
Macklemore? White supremacy isn't just the white dude in Idaho. White supremacy protects the privilege I hold. White supremacy is the soil, the foundation, the cement, and the flag that flies outside of my home. White supremacy is our country's lineage, designed for us to be indifferent. My success is the product of the same system that let off Darren Wilson. Guilty. We want to dress like, walk like, talk like, dance like, yet we just stand by. We take all we want from black culture, but will we show up for black lives?
I assume when they say black culture, they're talking about rap music and the sort of attitude that goes along with it, because honestly, I'm not really a fan. I mean, I'm literally happy not to take anything from it.
This is what Macklemore says. Now, Macklemore...
Hold on, Jesse.
Yes?
Okay, you can go now. I'll go.
Okay. Macklemore lives in Seattle, and Seattle is a white city. Seattle is 5% African.
That's awful. I hope they're not wealthy as well.
And Seattle is a wealthy white city.
I knew it.
And so he talks about showing up for black lives. So what that means is, again, this is another very popular concept out there amongst white people who like to fancy ourselves allies or in some kind of solidarity with the black community. And in fact, I actually saw an interview with Macklemore where he used the word solidarity. So that's why we had to make this video. He said this song was about being in solidarity with black people. So he talks about showing up for black lives. What that means is Darren Wilson doesn't get indicted, so you get in your car and you awkwardly drive to a protest and you march with black people. That's what showing up means.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't see why the drive has to be awkward, but literally, yeah, showing up means going to the effort of actually going there and not just tweeting about it. That's normally a good thing, isn't it?
And it's not enough for us to show up. It's not enough for us to show up for black lives. Just chant something, go home, go back to our white communities living off of other people's oppression.
Do you think Macklemore goes back to an 1830s plantation?
In fact, it's kind of a slap in the face to think that we've done our part, we've stood in solidarity just because we've brought our white selves to an African protest.
Are you saying that being white at a black protest is racist?
Oh, pause. How about the whole thing of, and we want you to have conversations with each other. I want white people to have these conversations with each... What the fuck?
Right, yeah. That's what it says at the end of the song, that white people need to be talking to each other. We need to be talking to each other about reparations.
Fucking hell. How much of this guy's own money do you think he's forked over to the Black Nazi Party here?
We need to be talking to each other about the history of white people, that we were poor when we lived in Europe.
What are you trying to say? That Europe was a poor place before the transatlantic slave trade took off in the 16th century? Because these are 15th century suits of armour, and I don't know if I have to point this out to you, but these are the products of societies that are not dirt poor. Yes, Europe grew richer through the transatlantic slave trade, but goddammit, it wasn't some destitute continent before then.
He talks about privilege. We didn't have any privilege when we were living in Europe. Disease-ridden under feudalism.
Nasty.
Is this some sort of fucking joke? I mean, do you guys think that malaria doesn't come from Africa? Do you think that there weren't also wealthy people in Europe? Not everyone in Europe was a peasant. And isn't white privilege just majority privilege?
Didn't even know how to wash yourself. I had to teach you how to wash yourself.
We didn't bathe.
Yes, we did. You're talking shit. Even medieval peasants understood that disease was connected to bad smells.
We went entire lifetimes without bathing.
Total horseshit.
And y'all still don't wash yourselves. After I taught your ass how to wash yourself.
In a lot of cases, this is true.
Bollocks.
And so we left Europe. Mm-hmm. We left those conditions. We attacked Africa.
Did you?
We enslaved African people.
And African people enslaved European people. What's your point?
We killed the indigenous people of this land.
Well, honestly, smallpox did most of the heavy lifting.
And we built this whole nasty thing called America and white power at everybody else's expense.
Well, it certainly sounds like you've been busy.
And I actually don't even like using the word privilege, because is it really a privilege? Is it a privilege to rape and kill and lynch and torture and murder?
Well, if you don't get in trouble for doing those things, then yes, you have a privilege.
And put African people in breeding pens?
When would that ever be necessary?
And plantations? And hang them from trees? Is that really a privilege? You do all of that, and then you get to sit in your comfortable home, and you're going to call that a privilege?
Hey, I'm with you, dude. White people don't have privilege, especially when they're oppressing black people.
That's sick. I can't even call it a privilege. So I just want to say on this whole issue of showing up, because there are even whole organizations of white people that are about showing up for Black lives, showing up for justice, for, you know, against racial injustice and things of that sort. And I want white people to show up too, but I want white people to show up to meetings of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement.
Translation: join our cult.
Where we do talk to white people and we strategize on how we can go back into the white community and unleash all the stolen wealth that's in our communities, unleash all the resources that we've stolen from African people for hundreds of years.
Do you really not understand that what you're proposing literally can't happen because you're not giving any specifics? Just a miscellaneous amount of wealth from unnamed people to go to no specified individuals.
Under the leadership of Black Power, under the leadership of the African Liberation Movement.
A black supremacy movement, right? I mean, it's not, you're not making any bones about it. You're literally saying under the supremacy of Black Power. Does it not occur to you that in 400 years' time we'll have a very similar situation, it's just the races would be reversed?
Not doing our own little thing as charity or to make ourselves feel good or something like that.
You mean not acting as equals, but acting as subordinates?
We work under the leadership of the party.
Solidarity, not charity.
That's what solidarity means. We're part of the strategy of the African Revolution.
I would like to hear more about this revolution.
And we do outreach tables. We go set up at the Saturday morning market where white people are out walking their dogs or going to get brunch, and suddenly they have a Burning Spear newspaper.
White people love dogs, love kissing them, love sleeping with them. Y'all nasty.
You know, I agree. I think that it's gross when people let their dogs lick their face. It's fucking vile. I mean, that dog's licked its own rear end. But you know what? I don't think anyone should be pointing fingers, that's all. I mean, this guy has got his face so far up the cow's ass, even the cow is surprised.
And while they're kissing their dogs, we tap on their shoulders and put a Burning Spear newspaper in their face. That's our job as the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. So show up to uhurusolidarity.org. If you're white and you want to take responsibility for your white privilege or white supremacy or whatever you want to call it, then participate in ending colonialism. Take responsibility for the fact that we're colonizers, we're oppressors.
You know, I might have had more sympathy for you if you hadn't been such a pair of unbearable bitches. So I'm deciding to look at this as if it was a competition, and wow, it looks like you two are a fucking giant pair of losers. So deal with it.
We're the lynch mob.
Yes.
And we have to take a stand to end that.
How brave of you to adopt such an unpopular platform. End lynchings in America.
And you wouldn't have nothing if it wasn't for the colonialization of Africa.
This is Reims Cathedral in France. It was finished in 1275, long before colonialism. This is the inside of the cathedral. I'm sure you'll notice how unbelievably beautiful this Gothic architecture is. I don't want to be a dick about this, but this required 0 Africans to build. It required 0 African resources to build. It's not like Europe didn't have anything before it discovered Africa.
You wouldn't have nothing, Macklemore. Not just the rap songs you get to rap, not just the awards. Like, you wouldn't have nothing. You wouldn't even be on this country right here if it wasn't for the genocide of the Native Americans and the enslavement of African people. And this is the whole thing which upsets me about, like, the whole white supremacy and white privilege, is that it moves us away from the and racism. All these things moves us away from building and fighting for power.
Okay, so we're in agreement that this is a competition for power. Because if that's the case, I don't really feel very sympathetic to you. In fact, one might argue that you would have to be crazy to think you can use white people's goodwill to overthrow white people. I mean, okay, it's worked on this cuck, but that's mental, isn't it?
Fighting to reverse colonialism, fighting for decolonization.
Yeah, but what does that even mean? Tell me what decolonization actually involves, step by step.
Fighting back for our land.
You never owned any land, especially not in the Americas.
And our resources.
Would those resources involve iPhones?
And whenever a white person wants to come and you know,
not really,
promote that narrative, promote that white nationalist narrative that, you know, that it's all in our minds and we have to talk to each other and be better. We have to be better to them.
Jesus Christ, the white nationalists are not saying we need to be better to black people. You're talking about fucking hipsters. You are portraying progressives as if they are white nationalists. You fucking lunatic.
You can't be better to me while you're driving in a fucking car with my materials in it.
Nobody has your materials in their car.
You can't be better to me while you're using a phone with my materials in it, while you have an iPad with my materials in it, and none of the resources from those stolen materials from Africa, stolen from Africa, is coming back to my people in an economic way so we can sustain our life. This is why Africans all over the world are poor.
Okay, I'm just going to be upfront about this. I don't think that your speciality is economics. I think it's propaganda. There are wealthy people in Africa. There are wealthy people in America. There are wealthy African people all over the world. Just like there are poor African people all over the world. And believe it or not, companies who produce iPhones and iPads and all this sort of nonsense actually pay for the resources they use. Because these companies were founded after we had actually decolonized. So they actually had African governments to answer to when trying to trade with these countries. I mean, I know this is all really inconvenient to tell you. I know you don't want to hear it because it's your materials in these things, and God, if only you'd found the receipts and we might be able to pay you. But unfortunately you don't have them, so the only payments you're going to get are from your little white slave there, who's stupid enough to just give you some of his money.
Because white people, because crackers, because honkies do not want to understand that we live in a material world. I don't need you doing all of this. I don't need you making songs. I need you to materially do something.
Can you imagine being so entitled that when you needed someone else's help, you would call them a bunch of racial names and then demand that they help you? Not ask, demand. Otherwise, they are wronging you if they don't volunteer their time and effort.
To do something. And let me explain reparations, because a lot of motherfuckers out here, a lot of you cave beasts, a lot of you Mayo Saxons, a lot of you toilet seat complexion individuals, yo people.
Look at that dude's face. Look at his fucking face. Just internalize that hatred, my friend. Your people. A lot of these cracker-ass Mayo whatevers that Ghazi's about to ask for help from have done really bad things, and you need to be held responsible for it.
They have it really fucked up. You think reparations is for African people. You think reparations is for African people that, oh, black people just want their free money and da-da-da. Let me tell you something.
Well, you have been asking for free money. I mean, it does sound very much like you're asking for free money when you say, give me free money.
Reparations is for white people.
Then you know what? We'll keep it. We'll keep the reparations money.
Reparations is our peaceful solution to white people.
Is the alternative white genocide? Just out of interest.
You don't want a bloody revolution? You don't want us killing you off and throwing you in the ocean and going mad and crazy?
Ideally, no, but okay, fine. The black Nazis are calling for a white genocide. I get you. And the only way we can prevent this is by buying you off.
Then give us our shit back peacefully and we will be done with it. Reparations is for you, honky. Reparation is for you, cracker. Reparation is for you, you parasite. Reparation is for you, you dirty fucking colonizer. It's for you. It's not for us. It's for you to be able to handle this peacefully. Because one way or the other, we gonna have a revolution.
Are you sure you want to have a race war with white people? I'm just... Your whole shtick is that, oh, white people have enslaved the world and they've oppressed everyone, how awful white people are. I mean, don't you worry that white people maybe are a little bit good at race war?
One way or the other, African people are going to be free. So either you can do this peaceful treaty, aka reparations, or we gonna do it our way, revolution.
Honestly, I want to see the same gender-loving African revolution.
Okay, either you can pay up with materials, just pay it with materials, go back where you came from, go back to the caves, and leave all indigenous people alone, or you pay up with blood and materials.
You know, the Huffington Post tried to hire this guy. They genuinely tried to hire this guy, I guess to educate people about genocidal Africans. But he refused because he didn't want to be bought out by the white man. And now you can understand why.
Through revolution. You decide. You decide. You motherfucking decide. Talk about reparations for us. Reparations is for us. Anyways, this video is long, but it's good and it's detailed. And tell these male Saxons where they can go if they want to get on the right side of the question and fight for real. Not fighting for these, You have crackers fighting for plants and fighting for dogs and fighting for animals. You motherfuckers will go out there and hug a tree while you step on the dead bodies of African people. You will try to clean up these oceans, but not try to give back the beaches to the rightful owners, African people. You will go to these safaris and try to free these animals, but not try to give the land back to the African people who, when they owned the land, the animals were just motherfucking fine. It's now that you own the land that the animals is going crazy and shit and dying off because you going on safaris and hiring poachers and all this kind of shit, that y'all not getting to the root of the question. And the root of the question is African people. The oppression of African people. This entire parasitic capitalist situation in the world is built off of the enslavement of African people.